Hi, welcome to episode 5 of Personal Style. Today we're going to talk about investing in high quality fashion and what it means. So, if your goal today is to learn about the is what okay, let me start. If the goal of personal style is to bring your best self forward through fashion, and you want to invest in higher quality fashion for your personal style. So I want to discuss like some things you need to consider in investing in high quality fashion. And I want to be clear that this isn't about a price point. It's really about your body proportions. So there's three things I'm going to discuss. So it's body proportions, it's going to be the material used, and it's going to be the sewing construction. So these are the three points that I am going to emphasize today on investing in high quality fashion. So I made a lot of notes. I have to go through all of them, just make sure. So if you have any questions, wait until I am done with the presentation and I can focus on answering your questions at the end of this presentation. Um, so I really want I think like I've said it many times, I've done a lot of TikTok videos about this is to really dress for your body proportions. And, I explained it multiple times about the rules of thirds, using the silhouettes, how designers use silhouettes when they design clothes. There's 12 silhouettes, that designers use, through various styles, Um, so when we design, there are different shapes, of the body that, we use different, let's just say a slip dress, a wrap dress, and a sundress. They fit three different kind of silhouettes. And the silhouettes will fit. So these three silhouettes of styles will fit into different body silhouettes. So that's a quick way of explaining it. And if you need to know more about it, there are two long form videos. If you guys haven't watched it, there is a long form video on silhouettes, and then there is a long form videos also on Kibi. So I'm not going to go over the Kibi silhouettes because I've talked about it extensively. There is a whole playlist on silhouettes, and there's a whole playlist on Kibi on TikTok if you want to go watch that. And if you want to go see a whole long form video, you can go check it out on YouTube. So I made it very accessible. And if you want a downloadable version, I have it on my website. And if you want to get tested for Kibi, I have a downloadable test that you could buy, to test yourself. And if you need one-on-one help with your silhouettes and your Kibi, beyond all the stuff that I provided, then schedule a quick 15-minute session with me. I will give you my time to work with you one-on-one to figure out what your Kibi and silhouette is. Okay, so with that said, let's move on to the next point of um, what you need to pay attention to in terms of material used in high quality fashion. So I think like most of us know that natural fiber fabrics are better than synthetics, for the most part. Um, so I'm gonna do a presentation to kind of show you what I mean. Okay, so um, okay. So if you note that, these are the natural fiber fabrics, for the most part, they are better than synthetic just for the breathability of the fabric itself. Natural fiber fabric have a lot more, it's a lot more porous, so it's a lot more friendly to your body and the way it breathes and stuff like that. So that's why I think like a lot of people talk about synthetics, especially with polyester, with nylon, and stuff like that. Like it's not that breathable. And also just want to emphasize that the way the silk is spun, sometimes the silk is also not breathable. It's the density, and I will discuss that later on. So when it comes to silk, it's a very heat retaining fabric. I think I've done a video about about the silk qualities and stuff like that. If you, I think there's also a video on YouTube about it. So anyway, so that being said about natural fiber fabrics, and I listed only 6 of them. There are more like natural and synthetic blends, which is a lot better than synthetics per se. But and then I will talk about, okay, so I want to also debunk this myth that just because it's a natural fiber fabric that it's always the best quality over synthetics. It's not necessarily so. I could say that it all has to do with the yarn twist. So you know how when you get a sweater sometimes and you have pilling, the reason why is you have to understand that yarns are made of filaments, right? And sometimes the yarn itself is just a hair of an animal, and sometimes the hair is long and sometimes it's short. And sometimes especially like in cashmere and wool and things like that, right? So it depends on like how many filaments they use, what the twist the yarn is. So the higher the twist, the less pilling it will get, and also the denser the more filaments you have. It's kind of like if you have something that's short and you interweave it, you would less likely have friction of rubbing, where it would cause less pilling. So if you need to know more about that, I will discuss it later. But I kind of want to go over and cover because there's a lot to cover. So again, like, just because it's a natural fiber fabric doesn't necessarily mean that it's a high quality fabric. You have to pay attention to the yarn twist, and you also have to factor in how many filaments are in the yarn. The more filaments there is, the higher quality of the fabric. The less filaments, the lower quality. Okay. And then we talk about, we have a scale that we use to grade silk, right? So on the top tier, so again, just because some brand, says that they use silk, don't be fooled, especially fast fashion brands saying that they use silk and you automatically think it's high quality. Not all silks are the same. There are at least 6 levels of silk that I am aware of. So you need to make sure that, just because it's silk, you have to understand the silk qualities, and there's a lot of information online to find out about silk. And then I also want to say that in silk, we don't measure it in terms of yarn count. Like, a lot of people think that, yarn count is the best. There is like a cheat sheet that people, there's a cheat code that people use in the mathematics of how they um, do the yarn count, that they could fool you with a higher number, but it's actually a lower quality cotton. So, again, I will teach you about that at a later point in time, but I just want to cover, what I need to cover to educate you as much as possible to know, what high quality is versus the faux high quality that a lot of fast fashion and lower quality brands are pushing, and fooling you and pulling the wool over your eye kind of thing. So I want to debunk a lot of um, these lies. I mean, and I don't know how else to call it but lies, because if you work in fashion as long as I have, and if you know fabrics like I know, you know that there's a lot of cheat there's a lot of cheating that you can do, and it's not like that they're wrong. It's just there's a cheating. Everything has a loophole kind of thing. So, be careful about that. Um, so we talk about yarn twists, we talk about filaments, and I'm talking about the thread count versus so cotton, we use thread count. And then in silk, we use mummy, right? So mummy is the density of the filament and the yarn twist. So let me show you another chart. Okay. So in the scale, so when we talk about silk, right? So 19 mummy is less weight, right, than a 22 mummy. So than a 25 mummy and a 30 mummy. That's why a lot of times, when people say, "Oh, it's silk charmeuse," why is it this silk charmeuse dress is cheaper, but a designer's silk charmeuse is more expensive? The reason why is because there is higher twist, there is more yarn filament, than the lower quality. So a lower quality charmeuse might be a lower mummy, and a higher quality charmeuse might be a higher mummy. So that's what you're paying for. Imagine if, it's the same thing, right? So if you go and you buy a hamburger, right, versus like a double burger, or two patties, it's the same concept, so that's what you're paying for. You're still buying a burger, but they're two different type of burgers, so just be aware of that. It's also like if you buy like a hamburger, it could be a 4-ounce hamburger, it could be an 8-ounce hamburger kind of thing, right? Just to be very clear about it, I'm just trying to explain it in a way that's like very not fashiony, but in a way that I feel like everyone could identify with food. So that's why I'm trying to use food analogies whenever possible to make it very clear, because I really want you to get really educated on what high quality fashion is. Because for the most part, I've worked in designer brands, and I've done a stint in lower like budget brands also, so I kind of know the difference between the two and what the cheats are and stuff like that. So I want to really give you the information and not gatekeep anything and inform you, because my goal is to get you to really buy less fashion just because it's accessible. And I think, like I said many times, I'm trying to change the mindset of overconsumption of fashion and be more sustainable and be more ethical to the whole industry. And I understand, yes, everyone nowadays know what the problem is with fashion brands, but I think that you as consumer also should play your part. And I want to change your mindset of playing your part, and understanding what you are spending your money on when you are buying high quality fashion. Um, so anyway, so I cover only one point. uh, Actually, no, cover 2 points. So I've talked about the body proportions already. So I'm talking about material now, and in the material, I'll only cover like 1 point of the 4 points that I need to go over. So that again, um, I'm gonna show you. So in high quality fashion, it's a very tactile experience, So I think that nowadays, because we have so much online shopping, that the whole experience of touching and feeling, to understand the quality of fashion is a lost art. And I really want to get you to embrace that again, to understand. So if I show you these two French terry that's made into sweatshirts, right? If you look at it, they're both plush, right? They look like they're both beefy, you know. But if I squeeze this, right, you can see that it's a lot more denser than this one, which is like a lot more spongy. So I can't even show you. So if I pull this apart like this, you can see that the weave is a lot less, um, it's not as tight, right? So if I show you this, right, you can see that I'm pulling it, right? But you see that it's not as loosely weave, right? So just to show you. So just because something looks like something online, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same quality, you know. So again, let me show you how porous this is, right? So I don't know if you can see how porous this French terry is compared to this high quality French terry that I'm pulling. Like you see there's less holes as I'm pulling, right? So this is a tighter weave. The yarn is the yarn itself is a higher twist. The filaments in itself is also denser than this one. So that's why I kind of want to just get you to the mindset of understanding that if you want to invest in high quality fashion, whenever you can, go do a comparison, do a material comparison, go touch and because I come from a time where we go to the stores, we touch and feel stuff, we try on stuff, we do a 360 to see if the clothes look good on us, and then we really spend time thinking about what we're spending our money on. And I want you to get to that mindset that just because something is cheap does not mean that you should need to buy it. I'm trying to get you out of that mindset, because the overconsumption of fashion is just something that sometimes when I think about, how much people consuming fashion and disposing of it and how much landfill is creating, it really hurts my heart. And I really want you to get out of that mindset. So that's why I'm trying to teach you. And that's why I'm giving this series. This is episode 5. And don't worry, it will play on YouTube every Wednesday after the Friday presentation. So if you miss anything, you could always catch it on YouTube. I make sure that all the information I'm sharing is accessible to you because I really want you to really think about the fashion and think about your personal style and what you're spending your money on, because especially nowadays everyone's talking about recession, about saving money. So this is a great time for you to think about your purchases, wisely and spend your money wisely, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I hope that this is helping you. So anyway, so let me go to the next point of, okay. Okay, so this is another thing I wanted to debunk also. So not all synthetic fabrics are junk and bad. So you have to understand that there's actually man-made fabric that's actually really good. So again, it comes back to the yarn filaments. It comes back into the construction of the yarn and the fabric itself. And like I said, when I showed you the difference between this French terry versus this French terry, right? So they're both cotton French terry, but like I showed you, they're not the same quality, even if they look the same. And when you touch it, you know that this feels so cheap in comparison to this. This feels very beefy and expensive, and you know that this is gonna last you versus this at some point is gonna fall apart. So again, like I'm trying to educate you on really understanding that just because something says that is natural fiber fabric doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good material. Just because it says it's synthetic, it also doesn't mean that it's just junk or it was bad. There was a time that polyester and blends of polyester actually it enhances the natural fibers because natural fibers in itself there are some flaws with it and the blends actually relieve some of the flaws, and make the fabric last longer. So yeah, so there's a lot to know about, you know, fabric and material use, and things like that. So I just want to give you like a rough understanding of what it is, so this way you can, you know, go out there and, you know, like go touch your clothes, and feel and understand, like do the comparison. Like I know that, when you go to department stores, like the floors are separated by, the different tiers, right? But if you go touch a designer brand versus something that is like a more um, moderate or mass market brand, you can compare the difference. You'll see, what the difference is. I really want you to go and like experience the tactile experience of fashion. And I'm because because I think like a lot of people don't understand, with online shopping, what is quality and not. And because now that we have Photoshop and we have all these, editing tools to make the pictures look great, and you don't know if it's good or not. So I want to clearly explain to you that the best way to know is to really go and touch and feel it and do a comparison if you can, So um, I hope that this is something that you will embrace if you have the opportunity. Go touch the designer brands, feel it, a comparison to the lower brands, and you can see the difference. Okay, that being said, I have a long presentation about sewing construction. Um, so, okay. So, first things first. Okay. So, this dress, it's it's over $1,500, and it's not worth the price because, again, this is from an online retailer, right? So you can already see that there is puckering in the back of the zipper, and it's collapsing in the back here. So overall, when you are looking at online pictures, don't just look at the overall look of it. Really, like, look at closely. Like, you see how, this back is gaping, is too big for the model, right? So if it's already fitting like this on the model, and supposedly like this model is the size of the brand, you know, and it's so ill-fitting. If it looks like this, you have to question, does this brand really care about the fit, or they are just banking on their reputation of a high-end designer brand? So again, when you are online shopping or even when you are at the store, make sure that you pay attention to the construction of how the clothes fit, on the model. And then when you're at the store, make sure that it fits you. Just have a list of all the checkpoints of how the garment should fit on you. And I've done a series about that, but I will do the series again and telling you like how clothes should fit onto your body and your body proportions, because I've done a whole series about how oversized fit should be, and if it's not an oversized fit, how should garments fit depending on various styles. There's a series coming up that I'm prepping right now that I will present soon. So again, like, you see that this zipper, this buckling, this oversized collapsing the back over here. Again, like when you are looking online at all the pictures that the website is looking, really like carefully look at the fit of the clothes on the model, because if it looks bad on the model, then it's gonna be problematic on you too. So just be careful about it. So here's another shirt. So again, there's this whole puckering here on the shirt. So it's already an issue here. And then I've already done a video on how a dress should fit. And I already said that this issue about this collapsing of the buttons over here is an issue, it's a bad fit, you know. So these are things that you have to be careful about, you know. And then this hem, like, I'm not sure if this is intentional design, but if it isn't an intentional design, that this is wrong, you know, the way it's um, pulling like this. So again, like, you have to be careful about, you know, the fit of the clothes and the construction. And you actually, don't be so impressed by the fashion brand or the big brand name, you know. You actually have to be very mindful of the construction. Look at the construction of the button, how the placement of it, if you can see, it's collapsing here, it's bubbling, right? And then you see that's puckering here, right? So these are things to really pay attention to, you know, when you are looking at things online. Like, a lot of online retailers now, they have the magnifying glass and they have the zoom effect, right? Go use those effects. Look at the garment, you know, very carefully, because if you're spending this much money, it shouldn't be like this, you know. Okay. So again, honestly, like, if you're spending $650 and this is the construction, really, like, don't waste your money, you know, because the stitching is so bad. Um, I understand the deconstructed look. I've done it, you know, multiple times in my fashion career. There's a right way of doing deconstruction and there's a bad way of doing deconstruction. This is a bad way. There should not. So sometimes, like, nowadays, when I look at deconstructed fashion from these big fashion brands, you know, we used to do QC tests. These would not pass the QC test. You know, I call it quality control. It would fail. The fact that, you know, the front and back is hiking like this, you know, it's so uneven, the hemline, the fact that it's this, and don't tell me that it's intentional. I'm telling you that this is bad design, you know. Yeah. And then I don't know if you can see this, but on the shoulders there is some twisting. So this is a bad sewing job. I know it's a bad sewing job because you're running the machine one way this way, and then you're running the machine the opposite way. So when you are pulling, so you're running the machine is pulling like this, so it creates like these drag lines, and that's what you're seeing here on the shoulder. You know, I know what it is, you know, because I work with enough fashion brands that this will not pass the muster. This will not pass our QC test. This will get a F and fail, and we will have them take it apart and resew it and do it right. So, and I know, and if any of you see this who work in fashion, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, again, so the amount of money that you're spending, so I don't know if you can see this, but there's like a lot of puckering across the bust here. So again, it's just bad sewing. And then also, like, the facing over here is showing. So again, um, I know someone's gonna defend it like that's a design detail. No, it's bad sewing. I'm telling you, it's just bad sewing because there's no reason why it's popping out like that. So again, like, these are the things that you really need to be mindful of. There's a right way of sewing and there's a wrong way of sewing. And there's no reason why you're spending $708 plus tax to get a garment that wouldn't pass the QC test. Okay. Again, so here's a $618 dress. So so the sleeve over here is collapsing, so it's just a bad fit. I just know it's a bad fit. And then the fact that the collar is flipping upward like this, the sewing is so bad. The sewing is so bad that I'm like, how can a fashion brand charge $618 for a failed QC coming? And I don't know. And again, like, so these are things like, um, I know that problem comes from the fact that so many fashion influencers who do not know about fashion have been given opportunities to start fashion brands, and they give it to an agency who is a third party who are just trying to make the most money for the investors for the return investment. And a lot of people do not know about garment construction. So you get a lot of this, and a lot of people who follow these fashion influencers love them, so they will buy these brands, and they have adapted this mentality of, accepting this as normal, and it's not. And the other problem is compounded by fast fashion, lowering the quality of the garment construction and whatnot to make a profit because consumers are pushing for lower costs at every turn. So that's why fashion has suffered in terms of not just material use, but the sewing construction. So I'm just here to point it out, so you could be aware of what you're spending your money on, so you don't waste your money. Um, so again, so in this picture, this coat looks beautiful and stuff like that. This is actually a CFDA endorsed brand, and it just kind of breaks my heart and also makes me laugh because um, in fashion, we do not use faux leather as a technical term for fabric for the fabric content. We actually either use polyurethane or something of that sort, to identify what the actual content of the material is. Because faux leather, you don't know what it is. So there's a lot of things to factor in. So you know that I made a whole thing about faux leather, especially vegan leather, and mushroom leather and all this stuff. You don't know what the faux leather is, and this is not acceptable. Especially if you're gonna pay $899, you really need to know what that faux material is, and it's not just some hyped up plastic nonsense, that you're paying $899 for. So again, I just want to educate you that there are technical terms that we use in fashion, and when a fashion brand does this, I find it a little bit shady, but. So let me go to the next one. Okay. So this is a coat from a fast fashion brand. So they tell you what the material is, right? So when you read it, it's like it's cotton, it's wool, right? And they give you like all the stuff, right? So if you read that it's cotton and wool and you see the percentage, you think it's good. But it all goes back to, again, when I was telling you about the French terry, right? So this is cotton French terry, but I already told you this is crappy French terry, right? Versus a high quality French terry. So just because it says that it's cotton or it's wool, is not all wool and cotton are created equal. So just be mindful that when you are paying for a fast fashion brand at this cost, they are not giving the best quality, number one. That's why there's all these the more blends they use, the more to suspect like like suspect. Okay, the more I suspect that this is really like shady. So again, be careful about it. And then it says that it's lined with viscose. Like I looked at the picture, online, and I was like, I can't see the lining. Like if you say viscose, how thin is the viscose that I could barely tell the difference, between it being lined or unlined because it looks like an unlined jacket to me, but and then also pay attention to the pocket details. This is a full pocket. It's just a flap. And I've done a video about it, saying that the whole construction of an actual pocket is very extensive. It's not just a matter of adding a little fabric, on it. I've done a whole stitch about it before. Um, and I said, like, this is a very cheap way of putting an illusion of a pocket, but it isn't a real functioning pocket. And this is very cheap to sew on, and it's very little material. But the construction of actually a fully made pocket that's functional, it takes a lot of sewing and a lot of pattern making involved. So again, like you have to be mindful of what you are paying for, when you are paying $89. And be mindful. If you want all the high quality stuff, I'm going to say stop backing up slave labor, because I have a big issue with people wanting the best high quality fashion at this price off the backs of slave labor. I have a big issue. I've called it out multiple times. So yeah. Anyway, so okay. So this, I'm not gonna name the brand, but this is the biggest fast fashion brand that's out there right now. And look at the price that they are charging. That I could guarantee you is off the back of slave labor, right? And they stole a picture from another fashion brand as theirs, right? And if they haven't, stolen a picture from another fashion brand, they will pay money that you are giving them to hire fashion influencers to sell you this. So if you read the reviews, a lot of the reviews said that this shirt is very sheer and it's made of polyester and stuff like that. And I already told you the difference between, a high quality French terry versus a low quality French terry. So that's the difference between getting something for $8.49 versus something that's, $50 per se, right? Because you're paying for people who work for the fashion brand, people who are sewing the garment, shipping, freight, marketing. There's a lot of money involved that people need to get paid. So again, if you're paying this, just understand that you are basically backing up slave labor, and if you are, then yikes. So, let me see if I have anything else. I think that is the gist of it. Okay, so that wraps up my presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in a comment, and I will do my best to answer you. Anyway, I hope that this presentation have given you a lot of food for thought about investing in high quality fashion and what to look out for and things like that, right? And I am working on many projects at this at this moment. So I have a lot of series that I am trying to plan out and present to you, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on YouTube or other social media platforms. So I'm only on 4 social media platforms, and they are taking a lot of time to do, in addition to the other things I have to do. So again, like if you need help beyond what I am presenting, the quickest way is to get a 15-minute session with me. So just understand that if you get 15 minutes of my time, I can give you a lot of information, one-on-one information, because I'm doing like these half-hour presentations on personal style, and that I'm giving you a lot of information and a lot of things that can help you. So just imagine if you get 15 minutes of my time, like how much is that worth to you? So again, schedule a session with me if you need additional one-on-one help. And then I also am gonna plan on if you're in the local, Tri-State New York area, I'm trying to plan out a session, a classes, to teach you about, um, styling and tailoring, and also understanding, what to look out for in investing in fashion, things like that. So there's a lot of things down the pipeline that I'm working on. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, so let me go and see if you have any questions, and then I will do my best to answer. I hope that you guys enjoyed the session. And again, I will be back. I think I'm not sure if I will be back next week with the sixth episode or the week after. But stay tuned for that. I will post it on my story when I am gonna go live, and also just look at the videos I usually like post, when I'm gonna do the live. How can you tell if it's higher if the label is sick? Okay. How can you tell if it's higher if the label says it's 100% silk? Again, it's a tactile experience. It's going, touching, and feeling it, and looking at it, and pulling it, and seeing if it's sheer, looking at the weave, understanding, the yarn density, understanding the filaments of the yarn that's used to weave. And this is all like very tactile. You have to go and like touch and feel things, and understanding about, thread counts, mummy, yarn twist, density of fabric, things like that, right? So yeah. Uh, ooh, I almost forgot one thing. Okay. So in sewing, so when you are looking for sewing, make sure that you count like the stitches. Usually, like the finer the fabric is, the more stitches you need. The heavier the fabric is, the less stitches you'll need in the sewing. And then also the weave of the fabric, and I've already talked about, in terms of like yarn twists and the filaments. Yeah, remember this presentation? So to answer your question about how to tell, the high quality is, you have to understand about yarn twists and filaments. Okay, so it's nothing on the label. Like, don't just take the label that's 100% silk, that it's high quality. Like I said, not all silks are made the same. Not all synthetics are made the same. There are different grades of it, and scales. And I think I've showed you. Hold on. Yeah. So again, it's understanding the different grades and the scale. And if you look online, you could find like this information. And again, the best thing is to go and touch and feel, because fashion, if you're talking about high quality, is a very tactile, experience. Where can I find these high quality brands? Okay. So I don't, recommend, brands, because every single time, so there are brands that are better than others, but because designers and the production team, they turn around, every 3 to 5 years. So I can't recommend, a brand all throughout. I could recommend it throughout the season. So I am going to do a series about brand recommendations. But understand, when I'm giving you brand recommendations, I'm giving you based on what's currently out there right now. And I'm giving you based on styles that are out there that you should spend your money on. Based on, like, I looked at it, I went and looked at it. I, understand the pricing structure of it. So I will give it to you in that way. I don't want to make a blanket statement like, buy from this brand and always buy from this brand, because again, because the cycle of how the turnaround of the team in fashion brands from from the design team, the people in the design team, and the people in the production team, and even people in the sales, is all contingent on that, So that's why sometimes you go buy, from a fashion brand, and then a couple years later you're disappointed about the quality. That's because um, the production team, the people in the production team have changed, so they might be using different factories, and also nowadays because of what happened with the pandemic, um, like a lot of brands have suffered, so you have to be very mindful of what you're spending your money on in terms of quality. So that's why I'm trying to educate you as much as I can about this. Um, so let's see. And then also the reason why sometimes also where you see like a change of design or style is because the designer behind the brand, and not the figurehead of the brand, but the actual design teams, they also have changed, So sometimes, you love, ABC brand, and then 3 years down the line you don't love them because the back end of the design team have changed. So these are things that you need to factor in. Okay, so we sample high-end brands. Okay. uh, Looks gauzy, loose weave. Yes. So that's why I say that the whole experience of understanding high fashion is to really understand. Um, it's really like it's really understanding, the tactile quality of it. What online brands do you what online brands do you recommend for quality? I live in a small town and stores are far. Okay. Um so okay, these are the brands, some of the brands I've shopped, and I don't shop them consistently because sometimes they have a bad season. But again, like I said, that I don't cancel out any brands. I will always go and look, right, at brands to see what they're putting out, and because I really believe in wardrobe curation, I always go shop with the intent of I'm gonna buy this. I'm looking for particular this. So if you are talking about basics, I would say that Club Monaco has pretty good basics. Um, and then I know that a lot of people do not like, sometimes the styling of Eileen Fisher, but I do like them because they have actually they also have good quality, and they are very, very size inclusive, um, in the range of how the business model is. Do they include like as many sizes as everyone wants? No, because it's not possible for a brand to be all inclusive. The fact that if any brand offers over, I think, 8 sizes, that is think about every size that they add in is about a $10, it's about $10,000 investment for the brand to include, so that's why brands are not that all inclusive, so just be mindful of that. I know that a lot of people, want to get mad at me for telling the fashion at the end of the day is a business, and fashion brands are in it to make money at the end of the day. If they're not making money, they're gonna close the doors, and because I know that since 2018, I know there are a lot more size inclusive brands out there because I've been contacted to consult and work with them, and I've actually worked with a few of them, so I know that they exist. And if you need more one-on-one help, again, like just schedule a session with me. I'll get navigate you and help you. Um, what synthetic fabric material would you recommend? So the synthetic fabric and materials that I recommend, it depends on what you're looking for, right? So I will show you. So Nike came out with a material called dry weave. Let me see if I can find the picture for it. Yeah. So this is a trademark fabric. It's dry weave. You know, you see a lot of synthetic. You see a lot of knockoff of this material, but this is actually a very good synthetic fabric. This dry fit fabric, because the way they've done it is porous and it's good for athletic wear. So again, like if you go and buy something that's a dry fit, then you know that this material, and it has to be dry fit. It cannot just be a knockoff. You know, I don't know what the knockoff, if it's good or not. I can only speak for this patented fabric. So um, because it's made for athletic wear and it's made to wick sweat out of the body, so you're not in something that's damp all day, and it dries very fast. So this is a matter of understanding, you know, what materials are used for, and there are very they are there are synthetic fabrics that are specially made, you know, to, you know, perform a certain way, like this. There's others also. So if you need to know more about that, I will be teaching a class about all this stuff. So um, yeah, be on the lookout for it. I am prepping it. So let's see. Uh, okay. I'm glad that, you know, you are enjoying this presentation. Okay, is there a brand where sewing is on point always and will last until? No. There's no guarantee that any brand will, you know, have products that's all across, like it's always going to be good, because again, it depends on the production team, and it also depends on the factory, and it depends on like the people's know-how, because you know, while I might know a lot of things, you know, I can't say I know everything. And there's always new technology and new machinery and new ways of, you know, doing garment construction that you have to, you know, learn all the time, you know. So, and I think nowadays, because so many people are entering fashion without a fashion degree or fashion background, what they understand about garment construction, that a lot of times, like the factory, at the end of the day, they are also business. So if you don't know, they will cut corners, you know. And again, you know, like I said, you know, just the sheer amount of knowledge that it's out there, you know, that people do not have, is shocking to me sometimes when I speak to people or I hear people talk about fashion, who are not properly trained. And I really want to, you know, share as much information as I can, just for the general public to understand, to know, to look out for. And again, like there's nothing, like there's no brand, again, there's no brand at all that is 100% right all the time. Not Hermes, not Brunello Cucinelli, not Laura Piana. Everything is has a chance of being wrong or being flawed. There's a percentage of it. So again, that's why sometimes you have these brands that do sales, because there is sometimes in those sales there is a flaw issue and they get returns on it. I'm not saying that it's 100% like that all the time. Sometimes it's just like the style. Um, some designer projected that it will do well, but it doesn't do well. So there's something wrong with the garment, so it goes on sale. But there's also, you know, of offloading of a bad product in sales. So just be mindful of that. Um, let's see. And the only way that you can, you know, pass clothes onto your kid is to really like look for high quality clothes to invest in. And again, I show you a presentation that is not just a price point of things, it's understanding what it is that you are looking for in terms of high end finishings and high end material, you know, understanding that will make a big difference. Um, how much polyester or rayon is acceptable in designing luxury brands in designing luxury label clothing brands? Okay, so that varies. Again, polyester and rayon itself is not necessarily an evil thing because it depends on the structure of it. Again, just because something is a natural made material, again, like I could say that if I tell you wool, a lot of people think that wool is good, but if the wool is using the short hair of the animal to spin into a yarn, you can get a lot of pilling, you know. And if you don't know how to properly treat the yarn, there's a way of kind of burning the excess, you know, filaments and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that are technical that you know that could be done, but again, it costs money, you know. So I can't say that what is acceptable or not. It's understanding the quality, you know, that makes a difference. It's not the percentage of, oh, this brand uses all polyester, or they're a designer brand, how dare they? It's not about that, you know, and it's not about, you know, I saw you know, Zara carrying all the silk dresses. Again, it depends on the quality of the silk, you know. So again, I don't want to make a blanket statement like polyester is all evil and silk is all good because it's not about that. It's understanding the quality of the fabric itself and how it's made, the yarn twist and the filaments, you know, all that stuff. So uh, thoughts on Monsi. I don't have any thoughts on Monsi because I don't really know the brand that well. So the time that I was consulting for Oscar de Renta was a time before um, Fernando and I forgot who the other person is. So they didn't have Monsi yet. So I don't know Monsi. So I only know Oscar de Renta, and that's like a different that's a different category of fashion. So I can't give you any proper thought, you know, and I don't want to misspeak about a brand that I don't know too much about. Um, okay. Is there an ethical brand you love for sewing and material? Um, I mean, I I I really like Eileen Fisher, you know, and then there are brands and collections that I like, you know, but I don't say that I like a brand consistently all across because it depends on again the design, um, the 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 workmanship, like who's behind the brand at the current time is how much I like the brand and what they're putting out, you know. And because again, like I'm a fashion curator, so I go out with the intent of looking for certain things in my closet, you know, that I want to either replace or something that I haven't seen, I don't have, but I want to embrace it into my wardrobe because it makes sense in my wardrobe. So those are things I use, you know, when I go and do shopping. So I hope that that gives you a little more insight in how um, I view things, and I also think about the price point. If something is really cheap, I question why it's so cheap. You know, is it that they are taking a loss and this, you know, because there's something wrong with the style and they had to put it on the sale to get rid of inventory, or the fact that this is the business model and they're using, you know, slave labor. So you have to factor those things in to make sure that you understand what you're paying for. So that's the only way to really um, gauge, you know, being ethical or not, because you can't hold the brand fully responsible. You also have to hold yourself accountable on your, you know, purchasing habits or buying habits. Um, I am not a huge fan of recycled polyester, but like I yeah, I think like the cycle of the cycle of how you recycle polyester, there are some issues I have with it. But I think that there's some good and bad in it. That's the thing I can say. So in a way, it is greenwashing. In a way, it isn't, because anytime you make a material, there is um, some wastage involved. So again, like the chicken and the egg kind of situation. So do you say that it's better to use the existing material and then go through a process, or you create new material by itself? So it's just kind of that kind of thing. So again, there are some positives and negatives about it. So anyway, I think that this is the longest um, uh, live that I've done. But anyway, I need to wrap up. So join me next week. And if you missed it, you could catch it on YouTube on Wednesday, this presentation. Okay, bye.